when we first got together, we had some rocky times. And the only thing that got us through it was our commitment right up front that neither one of us was going to go anywhere. We were there for the ride.
Whether you struggle with reactivity, shame, or fear, or you're just interested in mindfulness as a tool, this podcast is for you. You'll hear some great nuggets about how Dennis maintained a 32-year marriage. Welcome to the Yearning Heart Podcast, where we discuss with everyday people our journeys towards love, our growth, and the yearnings of our hearts. Hi, I'm Jennifer Lehr, licensed marriage and family therapist and your host of the Yearning Heart Podcast. Today we have Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones, who has used mindfulness to help him overcome feelings of shame, and in the process has created a long-term 32-year marriage. And he's got great tips and tools about how we can use mindfulness to make our lives better and make our relationship better. And I think that you're going to find a lot of really, really good material in this podcast. And today we have Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones with us, and he is the author of many books that deal with mindfulness and creating peace in our lives. I'm so happy to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. My pleasure. It's good to be with you.
Yeah. You've written a number of books, 10, I believe, and they're on Amazon and other places. And we'll get you that information in the show notes. Where I wanted to start, because this is a podcast about what we yearn for in love and relationships, but in this case, you've used a tool, mindfulness, to accomplish a lot of things in your life, in relationships, in your career, in terms of your personal awareness, and in terms of your well-being physically. So what I want to know is what got you moving in this direction? Because this is a great tool for people, but they're also going to want to know what was going on in your life that made you move in the direction of, I really want to create peace and mindfulness in my life.
That's a good question, man. That can go way back into the archives as far as memory goes. Mindfulness, we talk about relationships. There's not one area of life where mindfulness cannot be applied. So we're always in a relationship, whether it's a coworker or a family member, a child, a spouse, a stranger on the street, the clerk at the grocery store. We're always in a relationship with somebody at some point or another. When we look in the mirror, we're still in a relationship, aren't we?
Right.
So it's a matter of being conscious of being present in your skin in that moment where you are allowing yourself to remove all the blocks or filters that would prohibit you from being communicative and authentic and with your mind wandering elsewhere.
Right. But this desire to create this in your life originated from somewhere. Because I'm imagining many of us, we develop our skill set out of places that were difficult for us, like emotional reactivity or a lack of peace is going to make someone go, I really want to find peace. Yeah. So I'm wondering for you personally, how you came to realize that this was going to be your path. Like, what were you trying to overcome in yourself and in relationships?
Excellent question. Fear.
Okay, so you had fear.
Or the F word.
So is there I don't know how much you're willing to open up and share, but did you grow up in a volatile home? Like, what was going on? Like, I grew up in a volatile home.
You really drilled down. That's good. I was raised in a shame-based home.
Okay.
So shame is one of the featured stars in a few of my books because I really strived to understand how shame affected my life, and I wasn't aware of it at the time that I was living in shame until years after I was an adult and moved into adulthood, began teaching metaphysics. That's when I discovered the power of shame and what it really is. And I discovered that one of the best ways to drill down into my own authentic self, if you will, is to be so present with myself in the moment that I can watch myself telling the stories over and over in my head that have kept me limited and restricted in my expression.
Right.
Back when I met your beloved husband, Mike, in college, that I was still percolating a lot of the fears that became the fodder for my
For
self-development.
your work. Right. And so give me a sentence that would be a shame-based sentence that you would tell yourself before you got into healing that.
Doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to be successful at it.
Okay, so there was this overriding cloud of negativity and you're not good enough.
Yeah. Well, that's what shame is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Shame is really about you're not enough. You're not,
right,
irrespective
right.
of what it is. If you believe that you're not enough, that became the sponsoring ideas for some of the books I wrote. Well, Book in Abundance was featured in the idea of not being enough. If you believe you're not enough, how can you ever create enough of anything good or right in your life? You know,
Right,
That's
right.
pathetic. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it all started out with a belief in I'm not enough. You're absolutely right.
And that came directly from your family of origin, their belief systems, how they treated you, and it left you with, well, let's say, a wounding around
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not.
Jen, what's painful for me is to watch that my siblings are still stuck in it.
Were you the oldest?
No, I was in the middle.
Okay.
There's four of us. The oldest one passed a year and a half ago, and then my older and younger brother and sister, they're really still established and dragging a lot of that. They're not aware of it. I've tried to talk to them, give
Uh,
them books about it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
right.
It's
So you're
hard.
saying you escaped the shame spiral cycle and they didn't.
Well, I'm conscious of it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Have I escaped it or not? I don't know if we ever really escape
Okay.
those
But
ideas.
you're much more aware of it and you have tools to deal with it.
Yes,
Whereas they never grabbed onto the tools.
precisely. Yeah,
And how
yeah.
did that affect their lives?
My brother probably he lives in Boise, Idaho, which probably that in itself might give you a sense of where he is, consciously. Um, he's playing out I'm not enough in every area of his life. He's 78, 79 years old, been in two or three relationships, not married at the time, lives alone, and he'll die alone. And he's just waiting to die too. He's so
Um,
so that hurts deeply to watch your siblings go through that.
yeah,
My little sister is at least conscious enough to be able to be open to the ideas that I'm presenting. My brother, not at all. And
it's not, he
like,
can't go there.
no.
Wow. Yeah, that is painful.
So
Yeah. So you have a huge history in forming these tools you developed. Now, before we go into the tools, you're married, correct?
yes,
How long have you been married?
31 and a half years.
So quite a while, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And is this your first marriage or was there another marriage?
Three.
Third. Wow. So did these tools enter into each marriage or what happened in the first two marriages and now you're in the third marriage?
The first marriage was stupid right out of college, not thinking anything through. It lasted a year, and I'm not blaming anybody for that. Maybe myself, I don't know. Second marriage lasted 12 years, and that's when I began my spiritual quest, believe it or not, which is how it all started out for me. And I realized I was married to somebody who was relatively dysfunctional, and they would probably always be that way. Well, you could say what they are today. I talk to her once in a great while, but uh, it was during that relationship that I realized how unhappy my life was. Essentially, my life was on fire, and not in a good way, you know. So,
Right. So that
so
relationship, neither of you had the tools to work it out, it sounds like.
right, right. I was just developing the tools, but I was married to somebody who wasn't interested in growing with me at all.
And so that's a dead end.
Oh, it's painful too. Yeah. Now, I married my wife now 31 and a half years ago, and we decided to grow together. And as I said to you in our original conversation, it wasn't all smooth waters in the beginning. There were some challenges, and
Absolutely.
the challenges came to front to conversation for both of us, and realizing that we were both recreating the pattern that we had in the past, which was she'd been married twice before as well. So this is the third time for both of us. We made a commitment to each other that we were not going to repeat what we did before. And the only way to not repeat it was to drill down and learn what we did before that wasn't working so we could do it differently this time. And I tell you what, and I know you know this, communication is crucial in healthy relationships.
Yes.
Well, no, it's making it a safe place to communicate and to be who you are without fear of reprisal is really big in a relationship. And not too many relationships, I think, are free and open to do that. Those that are the ones that thrive and grow.
Right. How do you, because the listeners need to know examples that will help them grab onto the concepts. How
Yeah.
do you and your wife create the safe space to communicate?
Well, we sat down and created a vision statement for ourselves. It's posted on our wall in our bathroom.
Okay.
The vision
And what's
statement.
it?
Well, it's essentially I don't have it in front of me now, but there's five spokes to the wheel. Communication, having fun, um, making a difference. We discover that we have similar core values.
Okay.
When we
And
have core
that's
values,
that's part of the cement, it sounds
yeah,
like.
absolutely core values. If you don't have core values with your partner, you
You're
have
in
some.
trouble. Yeah. It's too different if you don't share. If one person wants to spend their life in more, I want to just enjoy everything and travel and do this, and the other person's like, I want to contribute and join the Peace Corps. We have a completely different core values.
My wife was in the Peace Corps before we were married, so
Okay.
you hit
Yeah.
it on the head. So we have similar. We don't. It's a really ironic thing. We don't have a lot in common. She loves sushi. I can't stand sushi. She yeah. But what we do have in common is our core values. And so
Right.
our core values is what we built our relationship on.
The core values is really important. But what I want to get to is so let's suppose, and this could go back 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Let's suppose you got triggered in
Mhm.
your relationship by your wife. And what would that look like? What would it feel like? And then what would you do to get yourself out of it?
Well, this is where mindfulness comes in for me because I realize that what somebody else is saying or doing is not, I can't control that. All I
Correct.
can do is control my response to it. And so I taught myself through the study of mindfulness to breathe deeply. I used to be a public speaker, and before every audience, I'd go in front of them and I'd ask them the very first question out of my mouth was, "How are you breathing right now?
Right.
Are
To
you, are
make
you?"
them aware of themselves.
Yeah,
But let's predate that. What's the trigger and what are the feelings that come up that you then breathe through? Just make up a trigger. What could happen?
You mean in my relationship with my wife?
Yeah.
Geez, two different ideas of what we want to do in creating something, a life of purpose and meaning, or buying a car or a home. Boy, I tell you what, when we moved to Florida, we bought a home here. We looked at 95 homes.
But in your psyche, in yourself, when she says, no, I don't like that home, we have to keep looking. And you're like, but we found the perfect home. What happens inside of you? Like, what's the voice? Like, I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, my dad kicked the dog hard
Yeah.
because there was a thunderstorm and the dog was terrified and tried to break into the house and broke the door. So my dad goes out and kicks the dog because my dad had some bad qualities despite having some good qualities. Well, for me, violence is a huge trigger. It's like, you bully, you effing bully. I
Mhm.
hate you. I mean, and then I would have to do work in myself to come out of that. And whether I had to take an action or distance myself or breathe through it. So I'm curious, when you have a wife who says, no, I don't like what you like, or I want to do it differently, what is the voice inside saying before you mitigate it with the tools?
Ouch.
Ouch. Okay, that hurts. But does it bring up the shame somehow? Because the shame is the initial
No,
thing.
I guess you could call it that, but I don't think of it that way. I think, for example, when we were looking at homes, I fell in love with a lot of the homes because of the views and it was on the water and whatnot. And she was looking at different things. She was looking at interior stuff. She walked in and loved the house. I hated the house, but I loved the exterior, and she hated the exterior. So it was fun, like finding balance between those two things.
And so you're thinking to yourself, how are we ever going to find the right house?
Yeah,
Or this is useless or hopeless, or I feel despair because I don't want to look at 95 houses.
yeah.
But, and then to mitigate that conversation, those feelings in your body, you breathe and you tell yourself, it's okay, we'll get through this. I have to be patient. Like, what is the conversation that happens in the awareness process?
It's a great question. I came up with I've been using this affirmation for years and years and years. How high involvement and low attachment. Be highly involved in the creative process in the moment, but don't be attached to the results.
Right. So, okay, that's really good. So you're telling yourself, go ahead.
I was looking at homes. I was involved in the creative process of finding the home and exploring it and working with the realtors, and I wasn't attached to the results. And that's where I
That's
guess
excellent. Yeah.
that's really a key to inner peace.
So you're saying to yourself, okay, sooner or later it'll work out. I don't have to have this home, even though I like it. It's not impossible, even though it feels impossible. I'm not going to attach to any of these homes till we find a home we both like.
Yeah,
And
that's
that gets you through it, and it makes you're more aware of what you're thinking and feeling. You are helping your relationship. You are being mindful, and you're self-talking. It's a lot of that's self-care when you do that.
yeah, but it's also being conscious of your ability to compromise.
Right.
If you're living with somebody you deeply love and you want to share the rest of your life with them, you're going to work hard at finding that middle road. Rather than when I was single, I was a whole different story. It's just me.
Right.
But the minute you bring a partner into the scene, the story, you have to take their thoughts and beliefs and thoughts, their sense of what's right and wrong and good and bad into consideration. And it's
Right.
not always easy to do that. It's
Yeah.
not always easy to when you're married to somebody, you want to have them agree with you and love you all the time. They don't. Hello, get over it.
Right. 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 Right.
High
In other
involvement,
words,
low
yeah.
attachment.
Right. So you're actually parenting. The little boy's going, I think you should agree with me. And the parent's going, the doctor, dentist parent is going, oh, come on, get over it. You can do this.
Yeah, and you know how I did that was I taught myself to mindfully breathe.
Breathe. So you're breathing
You're
yourself through
breathing,
the inner temper tantrum that might be happening
right.
into a place where the inner adult can come out and say, we'll get through this.
Mhm.
Because we're actually talking a little bit about parts, bridging parts, because sometimes our feelings are young. They are desperate, they're young, they're angry, they're anxious, whatever. And then we have to bring in another part with our skills to get that to sort of parent the little part that isn't managing things well and say, breathe, it's okay. We're going to get through this. And a lot of people don't have that skill. It's a
You're
self-talk.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I learned to apply that in daily life I studied Buddhism for a while. And
Right,
Buddhism is all about attachment. It's attachment to whatever you fill in the blank causes suffering.
right,
So if you want to transcend suffering, you got to loosen the grip on whatever you're attached to and let it go. That's
right.
easy if you're holding on to resentment and grudges and ego-based thinking that says my way or a highway.
Which is what I grew up with. Now, I want to bring something in that's going to complicate this because
Thanks.
I agree. I did a lot of studying of Eastern philosophy in college and stuff and did a lot of meditation. And I definitely like being able to detach from what's happening. However, if you go into emotionally focused therapy for couple and attachment theory, it's all about attachment. We are, as mammals, we attach. We attach to those we love. And so there's this tricky thing of I'm attached to you, and yet I have to unattach from the results, from what's happening, from so but we have to honor that, like you said, I really love my wife, I want to work this out, that you're honoring the attachment, but you have tools to help you detach from things that are difficult or upsetting. And it's just an interesting conundrum because both are important.
Well, if you're attached to having it your way, it's going to be painful. You're going to be in pain.
Right. So it's detaching from the ego that needs to have it their way and instead staying attached to the person who you
Right.
love and figuring out a way to make it work with them because you are attached and you want them to be happy and you want yourself to be happy.
Yeah. I think that for me, the awareness that fear plays a huge role in disruptive energy in relationships. Fear, so I drilled down into the concept of fear, and I really try to learn how to apply what I was, they say you teach what you need to learn. I wrote a book called When Fear Speaks, Listen. And the whole idea of the book was that to understand that all fear, irrespective of what it is attached to a concern of loss or death of something.
Right.
And,
Whether it's a need or an actual object or
or an
whatever.
idea or getting my way. So the minute you learn how to mitigate that fear by realizing that you can be bigger than your fear, you become aware of what it is, you become the observer of it, and then you're in charge to change it.
And that's where you're bringing in the idea of the witness.
Right.
The observer is the witness. And when you are able to witness, you're not merged with the situation.
Exactly right. You're a third party, unattached, not involved. You're observing. And that's the difference between discernment and judgment.
Right.
Judgment has opinions and feelings attached to it. Discernment is just an observation.
It's an analysis more than an opinion.
Analysis without emotions attached to it.
Right.
So the more we can learn how to move into discernment and less in judgment, the easier it'll be for us to accept that our way is not the only way to move through the situation.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that's I like that. Let's just briefly visit the process that you sent me.
Right.
And I want you to just verbally say each step as a tool. So let's first set up a scenario. Scenario is you and your wife are looking at houses. You're on house number 94 and you're ready to jump out the window. So now I want you to verbally talk through the 1, 2, 3, it looks like 5 steps, what you would do in that situation based on these steps.
Well, I'd first off go to the fact that I'm really more interested in making my relationship work than I'm having a home, any particular home.
Great. That's a great point.
So
The relationship is more important than the outer situation.
And so when you arrive at that conclusion up front, it helps because it eliminates a lot of the problems. If you love your partner, if you're in a relationship that you really cherish, you're going to be mindful enough to take their thoughts and feelings and needs into consideration.
Right.
It's not always easy to do, but
but that's a great insight to be able to put aside your needs in the moment and just go, this person is more important to me than whether we have to look at 10 more houses or not.
Yep. And I think she felt the same way, which is why we ended up buying house number 95, which we finally arrived. And frankly, it wasn't the perfect house, but we sat with it. It was a strange situation. We moved from California to Florida, and we had rented an apartment while we were finding a home. So we wanted desperately to get out of the apartment. And so we found finally house number 95. We went in the backyard and we sat and looked at the water and said, can we do this? Because the house was in its current condition was not a great home. But she had the vision to see it in the completed state, which was amazing. And I didn't. So I trusted her vision. I said, can we do this? And she said, yeah, I see this and this and this, and we can do this. And ultimately, it took us 2 or 3 years to manifest that vision as far as the changes in the home, but it became an amazing home, which ended up being the foundation. We sold it for double what we paid for it in 5 years,
Right. That's a great example because you trusted her vision that you could turn this into something you both loved.
Yep.
Which
High low attachment. I'm involved in creating a relationship with my spouse that is more important than where we're going. The minute who doesn't in a relationship, who doesn't want to be know that they're a priority?
Absolutely. So now I'm just going to go through this document. So you're talking about consider the fact your body can't be anywhere other than in the present moment. So you're bringing yourself into the present moment. Right now, I'm in my body. I'm sitting in this chair. I'm okay, even though, all this stuff is happening outside of my body. That's step 1. Mm-hmm. I take a deep breath and focus on that breath. So I'm keeping my focus on my body and my breath and myself rather than And that creates the witness. I'm watching myself do this.
Exactly. When you're breathing mindfully, it connects you to the moment. If you're
Right.
focused on your breath, you realize that your body cannot be any place but the present moment. Our
Right.
mind's all over the freaking place, aren't they?
So it gets you centered in the moment, in your body, and you're not flipping out about something. Then, as you release your breath, you're noticing that you're not holding on to it, and you're affirming yourself that you're supported by life because you're able to breathe instead of you're releasing fear that way.
And the idea is that your breath is the present moment is always waiting for us to show up in the present moment so it can bestow the gifts of life upon us that is we're here to receive. But we have to be in the present moment to receive those gifts. We can't do it anyplace else.
Right.
And
So
so
so you're continuing this process of, breathing and also telling yourself that you're okay. This moment is okay, regardless. And that's a big process that people can learn from. I have another thing I want to bring up, and that is about attachment, and that is avoidant versus anxious. And I don't know how that fits into your relationship, but it ties into this because it has to do with emotional regulation. And this is a way, your tool is a way, mindfulness is a way of regulating emotionally.
no, you're right. That mindfulness is a great way to regulate your emotions, to
It
become
is.
conscious of them. And a lot of times we're not even aware of what we're feeling. Our emotions are gifts. They're messengers that tell us what's going on in our mind that we're not always aware of. If we become aware to be able to witness our emotions, they'll tell us what we need to know. Before we react, we can respond.
Right. Now, my history is anxious. And my husband is definitely, his history is definitely avoidant, but we won't get into that. But my history with anxiety, which is big because of the kind of childhood I had and how I was raised and grew up. I remember when I was in some really difficult situations when I was in my 20s, so a long time ago, and I used the 12 steps at that time, and I used let go and let God. Even if it wasn't a literal God, it was the concept that the universe is a power greater than me. And
That's where I live too. Yeah.
yeah, and that enabled me to release my anxiety in that moment when I was very anxious. But
Right.
and so for me, mindfulness could be a good tool. Now, mindfulness can also be used defensively. And I don't think you do, but I'm just saying it can be where you use it. How do I say this? Where you're now the way you're using it, you're not using it to cut yourself off, but it could be used to get yourself away from feelings instead of engaging with your feelings. So
That's really you're right, but as you're right, that's not my practice though.
right, it's not your practice. I'm just telling people out there because there will be people, like I know people that use mindfulness defensively so they don't have to they don't have to acknowledge their feelings. Mindfulness is about acknowledging your feelings and witnessing them and calming them down. It's not about creating a wall between yourself and your feelings. And I just wanted to differentiate that because I know of people who are highly, highly aware, but they use mindfulness to separate themselves from their feelings in sort of an avoidant way. That would be more what an avoidant would do than conscious.
Okay, when you practice mindfulness, I also come back around. It helps me bring myself back around to the present moment, which is where life is. God, if you want to call it that, the universe, infinite intelligence, whatever it is waiting for you to show up to bond with it, to become the vessel through which it flows. And if your mind is elsewhere, you can't do that.
Right.
That's as simple. Close your eyes and breathe. And my
And come
affirmation,
back to your body
yeah,
instead of
life
being
is
lost in the fears or the whatever's going
right.
on. But you
And
can come back to your body and say, I have been feeling fear, but I am here right now and I'm okay.
yes.
Rather than I don't feel anything. I'm here, I'm okay. Those are two different things. And so
My,
mindfulness is a great tool to become aware of and manage feelings as opposed to get rid of them.
yeah. Well, that's exactly right. You can't avoid your feelings,
No,
but you can't hide.
you can't. Your feelings have a energy of their own and they have a right to be there and there's a reason
Right.
they're there and we have to take care of our feelings. We can't just throw them away. I'm curious if your wife was on right now, what she would have to say about what we're talking about. Would she have anything to add? Because you've been with her for 30 some years and she's part of this practice.
Can't speak for her.
Like if she does it differently or how her
Well,
process.
she does. my wife is very left brain. She's very linear in her approach to life. Everything is
Okay.
lined up, and I'm right, totally right brain, just the opposite. I'm very in the moment, spontaneous. I don't I work well with spontaneity in the moment, not having to worry about point A to get to point D. I can see the entire alphabet from point A because I'm aligned with uh, conceptual thinking, which is it's not the same as there's detailed thinking, there's conceptual thinking.
Right.
Conceptual thinking is something that you can see the whole thing at one glance. Detailed thinking means you got to get from point A to point B to point C to point D.
And you're saying she's more linear, detailed,
Abs-
you're more conceptual.
Absolutely. Yeah.
However, if she was able to look at that house and say, I know what to do with it, that's bigger than just linear thinking. There's
Yes.
intuition there, there's conception there. There's a bigger a vision.
Yep.
So just interesting.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
This conversation she and I have had many times, balancing right brain, left brain, in and out,
Yeah.
relative, I'm more, I think, in the position of being willing to entertain what ifs and possibilities where she's more, no, this is the way we're going. We're going to do this.
Uh-huh. She's
So
got a
it's
different
about,
way.
yeah, a compromise. And again, you got to realize we play to each other's strengths. We're aware of our weaknesses. And let's face it, some couples prey on their partner's weaknesses to
Right.
control them, to be in control or to hurt them. We're aware that we have some strengths and weaknesses, and we focus on what we have in common, and we try to embellish it rather than prey on what we don't have in common.
That's great. Done a lot of work to get from where you started to where you are now. And it's just good for people to understand other people's stories because it inspires people to know that what's possible and also to get red flags. Oh, this isn't happening in my relationship. How do I make this happen? Or is it something I need to walk away from? Because like core values, so important. Making the partner more important than the exterior, so important. There's so many important nuggets in what it takes to make a long-term relationship work when you're out of the chemistry. It's not chemistry anymore. It's about character.
Absolutely right. I
Yeah,
told you this in our original conversation. She and I, when we first got together, we had some rocky times. And the only thing that got us through it was our commitment right up front that neither one of us was going to go anywhere. We were there for
right.
the ride.
And you were going to do it. You were going to work it out no matter
That's
what.
right. And that commitment is what got us through those rocky times
Right.
to the, I mean, life is like, peaks and valleys the whole way.
Yeah.
It's easy when you're in the mountaintop
Yeah.
peak. It's all love and light, but when you get in the valley, you go a little unconscious and things are dark and you forget a lot.
Yeah. And so you need a compass or a North Star in a sense. And for you, it was a commitment that we are going to do this.
Right. And for her too. But
And for her too.
and see, neither one of us in our relationships before have made that commitment.
Right.
I mean, it's commitment.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And
No.
what helps congeal that relationship is core values and building a mission statement or a vision statement that gets you to where you want to be together. So you become a partner in where you're going rather than opponents.
Right. And breathing through the triggers.
Oh yeah.
Because we all get triggered. Everyone gets triggers. That's part of being in a relationship. Our wounds hit each other. We're triggered. We don't know what to do. We just want to yell, scream, or run. And breathing through it, getting yourself to calm down so that you can actually have a real effective conversation once you're both calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's yeah, good. Okay, cool. All right. Well, is there anything you want to add before we stop?
Have. I would like to just mention to your
Okay.
audience, remember that who you are matters. Who you
Right.
are matters.
Who
But
we
e-
each are matters. Yeah.
but even more so, what you do with who you are matters.
Right.
I don't think we're put here just to suck air and jam stuff down our pie hole. We're here on a purpose to bring life and animation of consciousness to the planet. And how we do that varies. You're doing it your way, I do it my way. And
Right.
the main thing is to remember that I believe in the ripple effect. What we do affects others.
This is a great closing line. That's an anti-shame statement.
I like
You're
that.
affirming instead of shaming. You're affirming yourself, you're affirming others, and you're saying, even my little molecule in this billions and billions of whatever's going on here has an impact and is important. And I'm important because of that. And yeah, it's really good for people who have shame to be able to say, wait a second, what I do matters, who I am matters.
Jen, maybe that is what triggered that awareness for me, was the shame that I was living in. That I got to a point where I realized that I was here on purpose. I was here for a purpose, a reason. And the more you dial into that, the more clarity you get on the fact that you matter and there's nobody like you. Nobody on the planet is like you. You're
Yeah.
just there because you got a unique gift to bring to the planet, but you got to access it in order to offer it.
So just briefly, tell me the names of your books, just so we know people might want to check them out.
The first three were self-published or really inconsequential. The first book that was published by Penguin Random House was The Art of Being,
Uh-huh.
1 Ways to Practice Purpose in Your Life. And so that was a daily reader with a chapter or a page and a half each, and give you a thought, develop a thought and a takeaway, along with a mindfulness practice to apply what is being taught in that lesson in the moment.
Right.
That was a well-received book. That led to my second book, which was The Art of Uncertainty,
Uh-huh.
How to Live in the Mystery of Life and Love It. That was real pulling the flesh off my own bones to be able to
Write that one.
yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So, and the third book was Your Redefining Moments, Becoming Who You Were Born to Be, which is about authenticity, which is
Right.
also a Penguin Random House. And the fourth book, which was Penguin Random House, is The Art of Abundance, 10 Rules for a Prosperous Life.
Uh-huh.
And
They sound good.
so, yeah, so
I haven't read any of them yet, but I
well, you
will.
will.
Yeah.
Uh,
So where can they get these books? Where can they
yeah.
find
Amazon's the best place.
them? Amazon. Okay. Okay.
Just go to Amazon, Google my name in there, Dennis Merritt Jones, and we'll take it to my
Okay.
page and sell my books.
Thank you very much for showing up here. And even though we worked out some technical issues, we got this to happen. And I want to just thank everyone for listening. And if you liked this podcast or found it useful, please either subscribe or follow or share. And thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. I'm honored to be with you. Thank you very much.